The world of flight, everything from the jet you take on vacation to the rockets blasting into orbit, is in the middle of this massive, kind of quiet revolution. It's a total reinvention of how we move through the air and into space. And believe me, it's happening a lot faster than you might think.
So get this. How is it possible that something as everyday as used cooking oil, as complex as artificial intelligence, and as futuristic as reusable rockets are all about to completely change the way you travel? Well, that's the big question we're going to unpack today as we dive into three powerful forces that are making it all happen.
We are absolutely living in a new age of aerospace. And I'm not just talking about small tweaks here and there. This is a revolutionary shift. It's being driven by this perfect storm of powerful, interconnected forces all hitting at the same time. And those forces are really three main pillars. First, there's this urgent, non-negotiable demand for sustainability. Second, you have the explosion of a brand new commercial space economy. And third, a digital revolution that's making literally everything smarter. The key thing is, these trends aren't just happening side by side, they're actually feeding into each other. And that's what's making the pace of change so incredibly fast. Okay, so what do these three big forces, sustainability, space, and digital tech, what do they actually look like when the rubber hits the road? Let's start with the one that's already affecting every single flight taking off today. First up, and you could argue this is the most pressing one, is the global push for sustainability. The entire aerospace industry is facing a ton of pressure to cut its carbon footprint, and that pressure is fueling some absolutely incredible innovation. And the solutions they're coming up with are just fascinating. It all starts with something called Sustainable Aviation Fuels, or SAF for short. We're going to dig into that more in a minute. But it also includes this race to create electric and hybrid engines for things like eVTOLs, which are basically electric air taxis. And, it even goes back to basics, using super advanced lightweight materials and totally new aerodynamic designs that might leave that classic tube and wing airplane shape in the dust. All right, force number 2, the commercialization of space. Something that used to be only for governments has just exploded into a booming new economy, and it's all being driven by private companies. The absolute game changer here has been reusable rocket technology, pioneered by companies like SpaceX. It has just radically dropped the cost of getting to orbit. And because of that, it's unlocked this boom in low Earth orbit satellite constellations for things like global internet. It's kicked off the dawn of space tourism, and it's even helping speed up massive government projects like NASA's Artemis program to get us back to the moon and one day onto Mars. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, digital. The raw power of modern computing is being woven into every single part of designing, building, and flying aircraft. Okay, this is where things get really smart. You've got AI co-pilots that are optimizing flight paths in real time to save fuel. You've got predictive maintenance sensors that can tell you a part needs to be fixed before it even breaks. We're now 3D printing incredibly complex engine parts that were just impossible to make before. And maybe the coolest of all, we're creating digital twins. Think about that. Perfect virtual copies of an entire aircraft that you can fly and stress test and push to the limit millions of times in a simulation, all before you even build a single physical part. It's incredible. So, of all those cool sustainability ideas we just talked about, there's one that really stands out as the most critical thing for the near future, and that's Sustainable Aviation Fuel, or SAF. So let's take a closer look at what it is and why it's such a massive deal. So the most important thing to know about SAF is that it's what's called a drop-in fuel. It's made from renewable stuff like used cooking oil or agricultural waste, and it can be blended right in with the traditional jet fuel we use today. And that is a huge deal, because it means airlines don't have to buy brand new planes and airports don't have to build new fueling systems. They can literally start using it right now. And the impact? It's staggering. When you look at its whole life cycle, from production to use, SAF can slash carbon emissions by up to 80% compared to fossil-based jet fuel. That's because the carbon that gets released when it's burned is pretty much equal to the carbon that was absorbed by the plants or organic waste it came from, so it creates a much more balanced, circular carbon system. And here's the thing, SAF isn't just one single product. There are actually a bunch of different ways to make it. Right now, the most common method uses waste fats and, yes, that used cooking oil. But other ways are scaling up fast, using everything from alcohol to farm waste. And then there's the really futuristic stuff, like eSAF, which could one day create fuel by combining captured CO2 with clean hydrogen.
And this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. It's actually becoming law. Governments all over the world are creating guaranteed demand for it. I mean, starting January 1st, 2025, Europe is mandating a 2% SAF blend at all of its airports. The US is giving out huge tax credits to companies that make it, and places in Asia like Singapore are setting their own targets. The big goal here is to get aircraft certified to fly on 100% SAF by around 2030. So, is all that policy pushing working? Absolutely. The global production of SAF is on track to literally double in just 1 year. We're going from 1 million metric tons in 2024 to 2 million in 2025. That is just explosive growth.
But, and this is a really important but, we have to be realistic about the scale of this challenge. Even with production doubling, SAF will still make up less than 1% of the world's total jet fuel demand in 2025. It just goes to show how far we have to go and how fast we need to scale up to really move the needle. Okay, so we've got cleaner fuel in the tank. What does the next generation of travel actually look like for us? Well, the promise is pretty simple. It's going to be faster and way more integrated into our lives than ever before. Well, for starters, we are right on the edge of bringing back supersonic flight. That's flying faster than the speed of sound. We're talking about cutting a trip from London to New York down to about 3.5 hours. And if you want to look even further down the road, researchers are seriously developing hypersonic flight. That's 5 times the speed of sound, with the potential to connect any 2 cities on Earth in just a couple of hours. And this isn't just about flying across oceans either. The whole idea of urban air mobility, air taxis, is getting closer every single day. The vision starts with developing these cool electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or eVTOLs. Then, regulators have to create a whole new rulebook to make sure they can operate safely. And the final step is weaving them into our existing airspace, creating this whole new network of air taxis that can zip you across a city or between nearby towns. And that's really the main thing to remember here. This stuff isn't science fiction anymore. The experts are all saying the same thing. Over the next 10 years, a lot of these cutting-edge technologies are going to move right off the drawing board and into our everyday reality, changing how we work, how we connect, and how we explore. So that really leaves us with one final thought. You've got these 2 incredible frontiers in this aerospace revolution: the up-close, personal flight of an air taxi and the grand, awe-inspiring exploration of missions to Mars. Which one do you think will change your life first? Thanks for tuning in.